How many people here are familiar with budgeting? I know especially in college you have a fixed income that may not be very much every week, and you have to make it last until you get paid again. So we're budgeting. We have $2. Get paid again in 3 days. We have to make some choices. We can either get some food or we can get something to drink. Now you might go to the store and grab a couple ramen packets and fill your water bottle on campus. It's not the most nutritious diet, but it'll get you through. Now I want you to imagine that you're sick. You have a disease. You need a life-saving medication every month, but many times you can only afford half the month. This is the reality of more than 1.5 million diabetics worldwide, myself included in that. Diabetics rely on insulin for survival. Yet in the last 10 years, it has nearly doubled in price according to an article on singlecare.com. That's only the insulin too. Diabetics also need other supplies such as glucose monitors, test strips, lancets, syringes, needles, and a safe place to store all of these things. So to better understand the need for affordable insulin, we need to understand the disease that's associated with it. I would also like to tell you about the different types of diabetes, specifically type 1 and type 2. I would also like to inform you of the monthly supplies needed and share some stories of insulin-dependent diabetics and their experiences, and hopefully convince you that insulin should be free and readily available. So let's begin with learning about diabetes. I'm going to talk about the two types, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. It's a genetic condition that often shows up early in life. Type 1 has nothing to do with diet and lifestyle habits. If you are type 1, your pancreas does not make enough insulin, and insulin is needed because it's a hormone made by your pancreas that's supposed to allow blood sugar in your cells to create energy. Your immune system oftentimes attacks and destroys insulin-producing cells in your pancreas. Type 1 diabetics need insulin supplementation every single day and regular blood sugar checks. Insulin can be administered through shots or a pump. Checking your blood sugar regularly and keeping it in a target range can prevent or delay diabetic-related complications. Type 2 is caused by an insulin resistance. Type 2 is typically caused by poor diet and lifestyle choices. If you have type 2, your body does not normally produce enough insulin and your pancreas can't keep up and your blood sugar levels rise. High blood sugars can be very damaging to the body. And there's my insulin pump. Sorry. Diabetics often have these little interruptions that happen throughout the day. So high blood sugars can be very damaging, causing vision loss, neuropathy, kidney disease, and heart disease. Effective ways to manage type 2 can be oral medication, lifestyle changes, proper diet and exercise, and in some cases, insulin supplementation. So now that we understand the disease a little bit better, let's talk about the supplies we need and how much they cost. The main one we need is insulin. Various diabetics also need many other supplies to maintain healthy lifestyles, such as pumps, CGMs, and syringes. Insulin pumps can cost up to $6,000, and the pump can cost several $100s every 3 months just for the tubing and site changes. The tubing and the site change needs to happen every 3 days. You go through a lot of supplies quickly. Glucose monitors, such as the Dexcom, which is a continuous glucose monitor, can cost $400 for a 30-day supply. And the middle part right here, $300 every 3 months. If you're doing the math, that's about $6,000 per year or $500 per month. Test strips for blood sugar checks, $25 to $60 for 50. Some people test 1 to 10 times per day. If you're testing on the high end of that, 10 times per day, and you're paying the higher amount, $60 every 5 days. So now that we've learned a little bit about the financial burden that comes with being a diabetic, let's see how it's affected some families and individuals. Diabetics often make difficult, life-changing decisions. According to the January 4th, 2019 episode of CBS Mornings, one mother said her son died because he could not afford his insulin. Alec was 26 and recently moved out on his own and was no longer covered under his parents' insurance. Alec rationed his insulin because it was costing him $1,300 per month. With rationing, it caused him to go into a diabetic coma, and he died alone in his apartment. Had he had access to affordable insulin, he could still be alive today. I've also had a similar experience, while not as extreme, but I had to make a choice between paying for my insulin for that month or my continuous glucose monitor. Now, my CGM greatly benefits my quality of life. It communicates with my pump and gives me insulin automatically, just as my body would give me insulin. Without it, I would need to check my blood sugar levels 6 to 10 times a day minimum. Ultimately, I ended up paying for the insulin because that's more necessary. But I had a rough month that month. My blood sugar levels were high, and I had a hard time keeping them in that target range without the use of my CGM. So now that we've learned about the scary and very expensive reality of living with diabetes, I hope you feel called to speak up or make changes in some way. It's my hope that none of you have to ever deal with diabetes in your lifetime. And if you don't, I would hope that you could check on those people that you do know that have it from time to time. Make sure they have the proper supplies and they're taking care of themselves. Insurance can be a huge help. If you don't have private insurance, please look into seeking government-assisted insurances such as Medicare, Medicaid, Children's Health Insurance Program if you qualify, and a few others. The website www.niddik.nih.gov was very helpful in navigating cost and programs available. Speak up against insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. A lot of times they don't have your best interests at heart. Make your voices heard. There are only 3 major insulin producers in the world: Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi. Think of if the people took a collective stance on the price gouging of insulin and other diabetic supplies. That could save the lives of millions of people. But even helping prevent just 1 death from lack of diabetes supplies would be worth it to me.